Good morning, everybody. So first and foremost, thank you to everyone who reached out yesterday just in regards to Rosie passing there. Appreciate that. I feel better today. I mean, obviously it still sucks and still grieving, but life unfortunately has to move on. So doing what I can to stay busy here. I do have a busy day ahead. I just did a few check-ins. I slept in a little bit because I didn't sleep great last night, but I have to head into the gym now for one client, and then I'm going to help out a few things with Ty. I'm going to take care of that at the gym, and then I'll come back to check-ins, and then I do have time for that Zone 2 video. Still going to get some information out there for you. But yeah, just trying to stay optimistic where I can. So didn't record myself drinking the salt water this morning. One thing I wanted to note on that actually was that use that with discretion. And the reason I say that is at my mom's house last night, I ate like the majority of a bag of homemade nuts and bolts, and they were salty AF. And like to the point where I woke up at 4 in the morning and needed to grab a cup of water because my mouth was so dry. So I did this on Monday morning as well, but like after crushing the majority of a pizza, like you don't need sodium first thing in the morning if you are eating like a bit of a turd the night before. After doing that sodium breakdown, I made the unfortunate mistake of looking up how much sodium is in pizza, and it's a lot. And so use that with discretion. If you're eating really clean right now and you aren't getting a ton of extra sodium and potassium in your diet, then yeah, make sure you start your day with that. But if you ate a boatload, maybe like 2 or 3 days worth of sodium yesterday, you don't need to start your day with that. So just having a coffee here. But yeah, running a little bit behind, catching up on some messages that I missed in the last couple days here. So yeah. Anywho, I hope you guys have a good rest of your Thursday. Okay, slight change of plans. I don't have it in me today to be Brenda and put on a show and do that Zone 2 thing. So I'm still gonna make this educational. I'm gonna go in and do a workout before my client at 5:30. I'm gonna do a squat workout, and I'm gonna teach you guys how to brace properly. I'm just gonna mic up during the workout and kind of explain it as I'm doing it. I still wanna put out some educational content there today, but with respect to myself and with respect to how I want to show up as authentically as possible on this channel. I'm not gonna fake it today. I'm not gonna force it and put on a show and try and be funny. I wanna get that Zone 2 out there, and I want to involve some humor because it is very educational and it's very helpful. And I do honestly believe that people learn better when there's humor involved. Obviously not everyone, but I believe that a good chunk of you following along probably do. So I wanna show up for that when I'm in the headspace to do so. For now, I have a lot of work to do. And obviously business comes first. So I gotta make sure that my clients are taken care of. It's Thursday, so I do my midweek check-ins today. And yeah, I can't just be putting all my emphasis on creating vlogs. It'd be cool, maybe one day, but for the time being, my business comes first, my clients come first, and I come first. So still gonna make it educational, but like I said, I wanna show up here as authentically as I can. And in doing so, it's gonna show the highs, it's also gonna show the lows. And right now, I'm just in a bit of a low state of mind with everything going on. So yeah, I'm gonna do a bunch of check-ins here, eat my oatmeal, and then go in for that workout, and then have just one client, and it's Archer, so I can't film that one today. So yeah, that's where we're at. Just heading back to the gym now. It's brisk out today, but I'm also just realizing, for those who watched my vlog on Tuesday, when I did those GHD sit-ups, my abs are really effing sore right now. So going to demo a bracing breakdown should be rather interesting. This will be good, and it won't be as humorous, but I think this is one that I have been seeing come out a lot in person recently, and I think could be super helpful. And I think just doing it in a training session sense might be the easiest way to actually break it down and how we actually can apply it in your own lifts. Okay folks, we're gonna take a little squat workout here today. So I'm just gonna start getting warmed up here, but the biggest thing that we're gonna focus on today is our breathing, aka our ability to actually brace our core. So I have beat up old knees from being a wannabe Olympic weightlifter for a few years, so I'm just getting a couple bodyweight squats in and a couple empty barbell squats in here just to kind of get things moving and grooving. The reason I'm squatting without shoes on too is I have very mobile ankles, so I have a tendency to drive the knee too far forward. So I find with my feet flat, especially without shoes on, I get a little better idea of what my feet are doing throughout the lift, and I tend to hinge back a little bit more, trying to kind of offload some of the stress on my actual knees and quads. It's very much a who and for who and for what. Some people will actively get them to drive the knees farther forward. Some people will get them to sit the hips farther back, depending on your anatomy, and again, any past, present injuries. It's very contextual to each individual. Just getting the old knees nice and limber. I do like to start with a couple pause squats typically, just to kind of feel where my end range feels like that day. Again, technique should always stay the same, whether it's 60%, 70%, 80% and above. Obviously, once you hit that 100% marker, there's going to be some technical breakdown, but your actual end range should be the exact same regardless. If you start cutting the range short, it's a good indication that the weight's probably too heavy, because if you can hit full end range with just the bar and all of a sudden you put on an extra 50 pounds and your squats turn into this, your ego lifting, so drop it down. Okay, so if you have been following along, you've probably seen me use this with a few clients now. A belt is fantastic at teaching someone how to breathe and brace properly. The common misconception when it comes to bracing is we think of flattening and tightening our stomach and flexing down as if we're trying to show our abs. It's the opposite, because when we want to brace, we want to create intra-abdominal pressure, and that's why the belt can be so helpful, because it basically acts like a cue pushing into you the whole time. So when you take that breath, you're expanding your diaphragm out and pushing your belly out. You're not just pushing your belly out. The belly is coming out because you're taking a big deep breath through your diaphragm into your lungs and pushing out into the entire 360-degree torso position. So, a belt can be very helpful in that sense, because it's essentially acting as an external cue. By having the belt on, it allows you to actually feel what you should be pushing into the whole time you're squatting. So it's by no means do you need a belt. It's just one of those ones that, as someone who's having a hard time actually feeling how to brace properly, a belt works really well for that. So get nice and set, plant your feet. From the top, I'm gonna take a big deep breath. So you can probably hear me breathing throughout, but I don't need to, because this isn't 100%. I don't need to take a full maximal effort breath every single rep. I don't need to brace every single time, because it's all contextual to how heavy the weight is. If I was doing a heavy 1RM single, yeah, I want to breathe as hard as I possibly can. But if I'm doing a set 5, 8, 10, 12 reps, and we're trying to grow big quads, big legs in general, if you were to take as full of a breath as possible, your central nervous system and your torso would fatigue way quicker than your legs would. So if I'm lifting at, let's say, 60% of my 1RM right now, I only need to brace at about 60%. But again, the whole thing I want to teach today is just how to brace in general. Why this is super important is a lot of people have a tendency to hurt their lower back when they're squatting and or deadlifting. And quick tip as well, the bracing I'm talking about today is really only relevant and important when you're squatting, deadlifting, and overhead pressing. If I'm doing a dumbbell lateral raise or a bicep curl or any single joint exercise, I do not need to breathe and brace as hard as I possibly can, because that's actually going to take away from my ability to focus on the muscle I'm trying to contract. The reason it's important in a squat, deadlift, overhead press is gravity along with load is trying to push and compress your torso and your spine down. So when we brace and we keep 360-degree intra-abdominal pressure throughout the lift, it keeps our spine way
way safer. If I think of flexing my abs down and tucking my abs down like this as if I'm trying to show my abs off, when I go into a squat, there's a great chance I'm not actually supporting my lower back at all. And then when I go down to that squat, there's a great chance I'm gonna kind of tuck my hips under, and then when I come up with my back and then stand up. So especially if my low back is intolerant to being in a very flexed position, there's a great possibility that I'm gonna end up overloading my low back and not actually really distributing the weight across my legs very efficiently. I'm a little gassy. I gotta stop eating so much chickpeas. When you think of your core in general, don't think of your abs. There's your rectus abdominis, which is basically your show muscles that a bodybuilder is trying to flex down. That's not what we're trying to engage when we lift weights. It's actually the opposite. Our transverse abdominis is basically a giant belt that wraps below your rectus abdominis. What you're trying to stabilize and brace is your transverse abdominis by expanding your diaphragm out and into. It's the opposite of flexing down to try and show off my abs when I'm lifting weights. Vastly different if I was on stage flexing, trying to show my abs, versus when I'm in the gym lifting and trying to support my entire torso and keep my low back in a good, safe position. Something I hear all the time is, my legs are super strong. I can leg press, 6, 7, 8 plates, but I can only squat 135 pounds. Well, if your technique is good for your leg press and your range of motion is good, and you can leg press that much weight, why is it that you can't translate that into your squat at all? It's likely your core, your low back, or even your upper back is your limiting factor. And whether it's the true limiting factor or just simply the fact that you aren't engaging and bracing your core correctly is likely a huge factor to consider. So if you are someone that can leg press a couple hundred pounds and you can, barely squat 100 pounds without your low back giving out on you or hurting your back or anything like that, ask yourself if you've ever actually felt what it feels like to actually expand your diaphragm and breathe in but push out as you do so. And to be honest, it's mind F-U-C-K the first couple times you do it, and it's really actually quite interesting. The more I learn about breath work and the breath in general, book Breath by James Nestor, super interesting. Talks a lot about how breath is correlated with anxiety and a lot of other mental health issues. And when you watch someone breathe for the first time and they take these short little shallow breaths, when they never expand their diaphragm and go all the way up into the lungs, it's very indicative of the fact that they're likely not getting enough oxygen to their brain, which obviously, as you can imagine, is gonna have a whole host of issues. Okay, I'm gonna go one more set here, and then I'm going to show you how to practice this if you don't actually have a belt. Because again, I'm not expecting you to go out and buy a belt by any means. There's a lot of drills that you can do at home that all you need is essentially a little bit of load on your belly to practice with. Doing from the front is the most unappealing angle. There's a reason that no one shows this, because it shows a lot of ability and weakness from side to side. You'll typically see people shifting over, whether it be a mobility restriction or a strength issue. It's very indicative from the front. This is not an Instagram angle, I can tell you that much right now. Okay, hopefully you guys can see my belly from here. Right? But like, these like coworkers are like, nice pause just because I got a little cocky. So, as mentioned, this is a great exercise that you can do if you don't have a belt. You do not need a belt. If you're lifting heavy weights, it's definitely a helpful tool. But I would say that it makes a lot more sense to get really good at bracing properly, strengthening your core, strengthening your low back as a whole before getting too reliant on a belt. When you've seen me use it with clients over the last couple weeks here, it's used as a teaching tool. It's not something like, okay, we're gonna go squat today. You need a belt. By no means do you need a belt. If anything, if you don't learn how to brace properly without a belt, it can actually be a little bit of a hindrance. So what you're gonna do, I like using an 8-kilo kettlebell. Now it's really nice with these bigger kettlebells because it's a bigger surface area, but we basically just need anything that's gonna be between like 3 to 10 pounds pushing on your belly. The reason we want you flat on your back is that you're gonna use your low back and the ground essentially to act as the same cue as that belt is doing. So it's pushing into you the whole time. So when I take my breath, I'm gonna breathe in. What I don't wanna have happen, I'm gonna breathe out so you can hear me. What I don't wanna have happen is when I take that breath, I don't wanna arch my low back off of the ground. I shouldn't be able to get my hand underneath your low back in this position. So when I take that big deep breath in, it's again a mind F-U-C-K, because as I breathe into my diaphragm and into my lungs, I'm expanding and pushing that kettlebell up. If you can do this, then you can talk freely. You're not pushing enough pressure into your diaphragm and pushing enough pressure into your torso as a whole. So I'm here, and can't get under, so we're good, which means that I'm pushing and creating 360-degree intra-abdominal pressure. This applies whether you're doing a barbell back squat like I just was, whether you're doing a front squat, whether you're doing a goblet squat, or any of the above. Anytime you're squatting, this is something that can be very helpful in terms of keeping that intra-abdominal pressure that we're shooting for. So what I'll often get clients to do is to do this in between their squats. So instead of supersetting with another exercise just gonna fatigue you even more, do your set of 6, 10, 12, whatever the reps are, get down on the ground and do a set of anywhere between 8 and 12 breaths. Take a minute and a half, then go into your next set of squats. The reason being is that when you practice it in a very regressed position like this from the floor, it's much easier because, truth be told, if you suck at breathing and you've never done this before, it's a high possibility you're not going to be very efficient with this. So when you're trying to do a really good squat, deadlift, overhead press, they're technical movements. That's why they're called compound movement. More than one muscle and there's more than one action happening throughout the lift. So there's a lot of things that you're focusing on throughout the lift already. If you're trying to think about your foot pressure, your center of gravity, how you're taking that breath, all of these different things, it's really easy to forget about something as simple as our breath and as impactful and important as our breath. So if you practice it, again, you can do this multiple times a day. You can't over-breathe and overdo it when it comes to practicing breath work. And the more you practice it in a simple and regressed way, just like this, it carries over to your more compound and technical lifts much quicker than if you were only practicing it at the gym 2, 3, or 4 times a week. That's it for today's exercise breakdown on bracing. I hope you found that helpful. If you did, please let me know in the comments, and please let me know if you've ever even heard of this concept before. It's something I've seen a lot with a variety of populations, teenagers, young adults, middle-aged, older population. Everyone was taught to brace very incorrectly. So if you found this helpful, please let me know. I have 45 minutes now until my next client, so I'm gonna get swole because I just need to for my mental health. So, gonna do that.
Klappat hakten alla Gullfest hela dagen. Mjöl från livets grottekvarn. Gullfest hela dagen. Små på stort, det har vi alltid gjort. Så det är Gullfest hela dagen.
Okay, folks, that's a wrap. It's about 9 o'clock here. Feeling better after that workout. Definitely just, needed to prioritize my own mental health today instead of putting on a front and putting Brenda out there and just being a bit of a clown just for views. So look at me, so responsible. But I am quite excited for James Smith tomorrow. Also quite excited for my 3-year no booze anniversary, we can call it. Lucy's excited too. But yeah, we'll see. I don't actually have too much going on tomorrow. A couple programs to make before the show at 5:30. Should maybe have time for the Zone 2 tomorrow. We'll see, but no promises. But yeah, either way, I'm excited. I'm proud of myself for 3 years sober from alcohol. Pretty crazy. And I think today's like day 43, 44, 45 even. I don't even know with weed, so feeling pretty good. If you found today's video helpful, thank you for that, Luce. Please let me know in the comments below. Please like, subscribe, comment, do all those things for the algorithm. I would sincerely appreciate it, because even when life's throwing some wrenches at me, I'm still doing what I can to show up in the best way possible for the YouTube. So yeah, let me know what you think. Ugh, Jesus, don't punch me in the face, please. I don't even know what day it is tomorrow. 42, something like that. 43, I don't know. But either way, I should punch my ear. I'll see you tomorrow. I don't think I'll bring my camera tomorrow because I don't even know if I can bring it into the show. But either way, it's going to be a good day. Hope you have a good rest of your evening. Bye.